Hello there and welcome to the Star Wars Showcase YouTube channel. Today we're going to be expanding our Rebel ranks and talking a little bit more kit bashing and head swapping to make a Hoth Rebel Duro. So let's get into it. So for starters, I was inspired to make this project because I was a huge Battlefront 2 fan in college, played it all the time with my roommates, and I loved putting the different alien skins on my Rebel soldiers. And with more and more 3D printed parts becoming, readily available and for a good price as well, these are a great way to expand your ranks. I've done a Soliston video in the past for Hoth Rebels here, but there's all kinds of different head sculpts that you can use for a Quarren, for Aqualish, really whatever you can think of. There's often a designer who's put it together. And for the purposes of our video today, what we'll be combining with our normal Hoth Rebel Trooper body from the Black Series is a custom printed Duro head sculpt that I got from Scoundrel Stock. These guys are a fantastic marketplace of different 3D printed parts. Definitely recommend checking them out as they've got a lot of great stuff that I've used in the past. Now these Duro Rebels are really great for beginning painters as you can clearly see there's really only two different kinds of paint that are getting used here. A little bit of red for the eyes, and then either a blue or kind of a purplish or a gray that's being used for the skin tone. So this is a great introductory project if you're a little bit nervous or hesitant about getting into miniature or action figure painting. Is all you'll need to do with your 3D printed head sculpt is to first put on a thin layer of spray-on paint primer. You can get this pretty affordably, and you'll use this just the same way that you would any kind of spray paint, ensuring, of course, that you're in a well-ventilated area and that you're using a mask while painting. And you're just going to put a very thin layer of that primer on your head sculpt, and then you're free to paint away. And basically what that primer does is it ensures that when you're putting an acrylic-based paint down, that the paint's going to stick, that it's not going to run off or be splotchy or kind of streaky. You might notice that if you've ever painted like furniture or something and your paint is kind of watery, it has that effect. This just allows us to have, our very thin layers of paint that we add on top of that primer to get a really nice even coating. So to paint this guy up, choose whatever skin tone you'd like. I recommend two very thin layers of a little bit of watered down paint. So you just add a couple of drops to whatever your paint is, mix that together, do a layer, give it a little bit while, and then do another layer on top of that, and that'll give you a nice clean and even finish. And then repeat the same process for your red eyes. And once you have that done, you've got a nice Duro head sculpt. You can see for me, I've kind of gone with the darker blue, kind of that Cad Bane style, but I've also done a lighter blue before that I really liked, and I think a gray would look really good with kind of the red kind of popping eyes. Now you'll notice on the Duro Rebel that I've put together, he does come with that little scarf in the basic Black Series release, and the Duro have really pointed chins, so you can't just put on that scarf one-to-one without the Duro head sculpt kind of bumping into it. So for mine, I took a hobby knife and I cut just a little bit of that top layer off so his chin is able to fit on there. To be honest, the scarf is really optional. You could also opt for, a soft goods replacement if you felt so inclined. But if you are using a hobby knife to trim just a little bit of that plastic off like I've done here, please just make sure you're being very careful as it can be dangerous to use sharp tools like that. Once you've got his little scarf or neckerchief in place, all you need to do is affix that head sculpt. You can use a little bit of putty. You can use the Vaseline hot glue method that I've talked about in previous videos, and get that head sculpt just to fit nicely right on top of that scarf. With the goggles that the Hoth Rebel comes with, you can either put those around his neck like I've done here, or you can also kind of put them resting on the top of his head, which looks really good as the Duro has a little bit of a bigger forehead that can really accommodate that. But anyways, that is a very basic breakdown of how to build out your Hoth Rebel Trooper ranks. I think the Hoth Rebel Trooper is one of the Black Series' very best figures. He does come with those 2 different face plates, so if you get 4 or 5 of these guys, you can have 2 of the human troopers and then put a couple of different alien head sculpts, maybe this one from this Duro video. You could follow my Solston video for another, or any others that you really like. And when you add some, DLT-19s or some TL-50s, some heavy weapons to these guys, you can get a really great trooper scene with a lot of variety and a lot of extra aliens who aren't always as common within the Black Series. So let me know your thoughts on this video. If you've got any tips, if you've got any suggestions, if you've got any alien head sculpts that you really like or that you'd love to see featured in a future video, feel free to let me know down in the comments below. And furthermore, if you are interested in watching more of these custom tutorial videos, I've got a playlist coming up on the screen right now. I've also got a retrospective of the Black Series, 5 videos out so far on that. So feel free to check that out if you're interested in learning more about the history of the Star Wars Black Series line. And finally, if you'd like to purchase any of the custom projects that I work on, please feel free to check out my eBay store. I've got that linked down in the video description below. Many of the projects that I work on are featured on that eBay store that are available to buy. And any purchases you make there really help go to, allowing me to build more projects as well as create more content like this. So if you feel so interested, I would definitely love your support there.